Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube. You know what you have to do. Subscribe, smash the bell notification button, comment, share, anything you can do to support the channel. If you want to contact us, we're on Twitter at the_upper_tier. You'll get us on Facebook and Instagram, the Upper Tier. And we said we'd jump on today. My partner in crime, Craig. The Ballon d'Or short list has been released.
Yeah.
And we said we take a look at the Ballon d'Or in terms of the trophy, in terms of the importance of it. And then we would take a look at what the bookmakers are thinking at the moment in terms of their favourites and stuff like that. And then we said we'd go down through the 30-man list and we try and pick out 3 each. And what we do is then we try and arrive at who we think would win.
Yeah.
And obviously, you being our main European correspondent on the podcast, you will give us a breakdown of these guys, whether they should or shouldn't be on the list or in the running.
Yeah.
So this should be a fun episode. So let's have a bit of fun. Let's start from your own opinion. The Ballon d'Or. What do you think?
I think it's fully merited to, the best player of the last season or so, like in the period. Not just, I think the only problem I have with the Ballon d'Or is it overly focused on attackers sometimes, probably, when there is other positions on the pitch that do a lot for the team or do a lot for the club in a season that gets unnoticed. And is it recognised? Maybe it's recognised by the fan, but is it recognised as in a Ballon d'Or? I think a lot of the time, like Messi, Ronaldo, obviously on their own planet as players, but because of their goal ratio, because of the return, whereas other work might be getting as noticed and is equally deserving of a Ballon d'Or. For me, a Ballon d'Or, I think, is about what you give to the team, and also your international team, I think, should be brought into equation as well. That's just how I feel about it. What you're doing as an overall, as a complete. I think it's fully merited to a standout who has been performing above and beyond, and I think it's fully deserved, and it's fully warranted that the players around you, the best of the best in Europe, are voting for you, which shows why you should be there. Do you feel at times that it's a bit overly focused on attack as well, as in?
I do, but I can understand it as well, because generally speaking, it's the strikers and the attackers and the moments and the goals that tend to get the praise.
Yeah.
But I can equally see the point that, like, if you're a top class central defender, and you continually keep on getting clean sheets, for them, clean sheets is the equal of a striker scoring.
That's the point I want to make, and
I think that's really important as well. And also, I feel, even goalkeepers, from their point of view, the amount of world class goalkeepers that have had unbelievable seasons over the years and have never had a look in at the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
And then I suppose midfielders in this equation is the kind of thankless job really in this, because they don't get the headlines. When you go down through the years and you think of midfielders, you think like Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Makelele, all these brilliant players down through the years, that rarely got a mention and stuff like that. But yet their work is tireless. Their moments don't often get identified until after the fact.
That's the issue that I would have, if any, with the Ballon d'Or, that I would like it to be a more complete thing.
Yeah, well, I suppose maybe there's a case. Maybe there might be a case maybe for doing maybe 3 or 4 of them, and that you have one for each of those, not positions on the pitch, but, those kind of locations on the pitch. So maybe you have a front line one, you have a midfield one, a defenders. I suppose goalkeeper would be a different one because there's only ever one goalkeeper. So it's slightly different. But maybe you could have a goalkeeper, defender one, a midfield one, and a forward one, and then maybe those 3 roll up, and then you have an eventual winner. You know what I mean, or something like that. Similar to what they did with the world awards there not so long ago with Jorginho and all and stuff. But I just think, to turn around, say an example, we're both Liverpool fans, to turn around and say that Mo Salah's impact on Liverpool is so much more than Virgil van Dijk's impact on Liverpool in terms
when it's similar moments, but different areas.
So similar, you know what I mean?
There you go.
but yet we focus on Obviously, Mo being this world-class player and probably the best on the planet at the moment. But would he be identified as that if defenders didn't do their job?
Like, can't do one without the other, like, you know.
Exactly. Like, for instance, if you look at Mo Salah is unbelievable at scoring goals. But if we only get draws, does anyone care?
No.
You know, and that's where I'm coming from, you know.
It's moments, like you just said, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think there has to be some sort of a balance to it as well, you know what I mean? Often with these awards as well, I can think that they can be a little bit contrived, slightly, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, we've seen in the past with a number of winners that we wouldn't necessarily agree with.
Yes.
But they're kind of flavour of the month. They're the poster boy for FIFA. They're the guys that end up in the conversation, whereas other guys who were there that might be a little bit more outspoken, mightn't toe the FIFA line, get overlooked, you know. So we could look at that as well. But I mean, to break it down, I suppose it comes in, it's happening on the 29th of November, the Tire de Chalet in Paris. It's a 30-man short list that's put together by the editors of France Football, who are the guys who started the Ballon d'Or. And then it goes down through a number of things. So they look at nations, coaches, and, you know, journalists and representatives from each of the nations. And then they whittle it down to their 5 players from the 30, scoring on a points differential scheme to eventually arrive at the winner. Which is kind of like, on the face of it, you would turn around and say, well, yeah, that makes sense because there's a number of layers in the sport.
Yeah.
All getting involved in it, the selection process and stuff like that. But then I suppose when you look at the 30 list that we have this year, it's kind of a little bit weird, isn't it? Like,
it's very strange. No disrespect to anyone in there. It's not the list you would kind of put probably in your head, or if you were to write around 30 man. No disrespect to anyone in it, and congrats to whoever is in it.
But it kind of represents my point that I make. There's a number of players on this list that really didn't achieve a whole lot last year.
I'd 100% agree with that.
And yet they're on it because, you know, it's important to keep them in there from
because they're mentionable and because they're I'd agree with that.
So let's start, first of all, I'll start with the odds at the moment.
Oh God,
we'll have a chat about that because I think this is way off.
Tell me who's is there a clear favorite above the rest? First of all, like an out and out clear favorite.
Well, we know who the clear favorite is. The clear favorite is Lionel Messi.
What's his odds?
His odds is 8-15 on.
That's a joke.
Okay, so first of all, it's kind of weird as well because it looks at it takes an over. The problem with this Ballon d'Or as well is
absolute joke.
We have a yearly award, but it looks also takes into account the span of a player's career.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Which is kind of weird because if you're looking at it in isolation, 20 names could drop off this list
straight away, and
20 names could go on this list
straight away.
Whereas if you're bringing it in, it's the way they've put it in there that it also looks at it like the magnitude of a player's career.
Yes,
it gives them a free card then to include other players very selectively and very easy and bypass other players.
It's not right. You know.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, you look at like Messi's on this list, Ronaldo's on this list. 2 guys last season who would have fallen way short of expectation.
Yeah.
But because they're previous winners, because of the span of their career, they're on the list. But at no way or in no case could you justify either of these guys winning it or being in the top 3 or the top 5 this year. I'd put that out there now. My opinion. What do you think?
I think there's a case for Ronaldo to be on the list only because although Inter Milan did win the league, he finished top goal scorer in Serie A with 30-something goals. Lionel Messi, it goes without saying, and if we're just talking football here, non-existent compared to the Lionel Messi that we know. He won the what's the thing with Argentina? The
Copa America.
That's not enough to win a Ballon d'Or or to be recognised for a Ballon d'Or. No disrespect to Argentina or that tournament, but who takes that seriously? And what does that do for world football, really? Not a lot. You know, the last season that he's had, I wouldn't put him in the top 3 or 5. Would I put Ronaldo in the top 3 or 5? No. not on the season that other players have had and brought the things that they brought to the table, which we've talked about. Would I put him on the list? I would, not because of his previous, but because he did still finish top scorer in Serie A, win a poor Juventus. I'll give him credit for that. I won't take that away from him.
But I think both of them are a shoe-in to be on the list, because if you look, include the career element of it.
Which should be based on just, what did you do last season? Full stop. Not this, but he had, remember that time? But that's irrelevant. That's gone. That's in the past.
Well, that's how I would think. I would think if you're looking at the Ballon d'Or for 2021,
it
has to be the 20 to 2021 season.
Yeah.
Not about whether Messi was world class in 2015 or 2012,
it's gone.
or Ronaldo was world class in 14 or 15 or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that does the award a disservice, because
massively,
really the cream that should rise to the top, who have had an outstanding 12 months, should be the guys that are in the conversation, and not the guys, everyone knows Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, whether you're a Messi guy or a Ronaldo guy, these are two of the greatest guys who have ever played the game, without a shadow of a doubt, unquestionable, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But does that give you a pass
it does
into an award that's a yearly award that most guys are being judged on their career for the previous 12 months?
Yeah.
Some guys are sliding in the back door based on their career.
They will always have that pass go collect 200 card because of their past. And it's no disrespect to either of them, not taking that away from either of their past. But this should be on the here and the now. For the last season, what did you do? Why are you on this list? This is what I did in that 12-month period for my club, for my country. Yeah. And that's why you're there. If you don't put Messi or Ronaldo in, oh my God, there's questions, there's allegations. Why are they? This is sadly what happens. Instead of the people who are earning to be there, we're talking about why other people aren't there, which is a massive problem as well.
Yeah, we see it's a very blurry line with this award, because on one hand, it's about what you did in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it's about your career. So like if you're a new guy coming in, say for example, the likes of, a Chiesa or a Pedri or someone like that, who might have had
season.
Let's say they've gone out and had a phenomenal 12 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's say, imagine they won their league and, won the Champions League and won a cup and all this kind of stuff, and were outstanding, man of the matches, loads of goals, blah, 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 blah. Right? And then you're going up against a Ronaldo who's had an unbelievable career, or a Messi who's had an unbelievable career.
Yeah.
Who should get the award? It's a yearly award with blurry lines that when it suits them, they look at, a lifetime career achievement thing. And when it doesn't suit them, then they look at the last 12 months.
There's no in between with that, which is really wrong. Like, it should be just the last 12 months, full stop. No buts, no maybes, no, but Ronaldo won it this time, or Ronaldo has 4 before that. Fair play to him, Yeah.
So let's have a quick look down through the odds. Okay, so Messi obviously is favourite out there on his own. Lewandowski is in there at 5-1.
Massive disservice and disrespect to him, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been incredible. And then,
Who's third by any chance?
Well, completing the big 3 favourites, then you have Jorginho comes in there from Chelsea.
Okay.
Who I think, has a shout in the game.
Well, do you want me to speak on Jorginho now, or do you want me to wait?
No, we'll hold it as we go down through this. Okay. Ronaldo was in there at 16-1.
16?
Yeah, he's 16-1. And
basically saying what you have just said has just been confirmed, because he's done stuff in the past. They'll throw him into the market. 16-1. He's not going to win it, but he's on the list. Fair enough.
Now, wait till I tell you who this 16-1 matches. In there at 16-1 with Ronaldo as well is N'Golo Kante,
which is a massive disservice to him as well, because he is one of the most complete footballers in the world. I'm not even going to say midfielders, I'm going to say footballers.
Yeah. Now, two that you might not disagree with them. I went to the far end of the betting then.
Oh, God.
So we have Bruno Fernandes and we have Phil Foden. Are both in there at 100-1.
That's embarrassing. Not to the players on the bookies. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, both who reached European Cup finals.
Both. That's absolute embarrassment. And that goes to show you, they've done something in 12 months, but have they done this before? There you go.
Yeah. So I just said I'd take out a selection of that kind of stuff there.
That's scary. That is.
It's scary that's the bookies thinking, because what the bookies are thinking is that the decision on this award, which is a yearly award, hinges on your career and not your performance in the last.
That just confirms it though.
Yeah. So
that just confirms it.
Yeah. So let's go down through the list. There's a list of 30 there. Some we'll touch on and some will be pretty quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Nicolo Barella.
Oh, I adore him. What an absolute unbelievable talent he is. My Inter Milan, he broke onto the scene under Conte and he got literally thrown straight into the midfield role at the deep end. But this lad conducts the midfield. This lad organises the midfield. He dictates play. He's a goal threat. His passing is unbelievable. And not only will he get better as he matures, but he's also gone into the Italian scene and done the exact same thing with a lot of big personalities in there. But he's gone in effortlessly. I'm sure you like him. I'm sure you watch him yourself. Yeah. I do think there's no disrespect to Inter Milan. There's a big move down the line there for that fella. A massive move. Really quickly, should he be on the list in the last 12 months? I'm going to say yes, he deserves to be on the list.
Okay, good show. Karim Benzema.
One of the most underrated players in world football, in my opinion. Never gets the credit he deserves. Was in Ronaldo's shadow for a long time, came out Ronaldo's shadow, and his goal ratio is phenomenal.
Scary.
I think he is one of the best strikers in the world. I just don't think he portrays himself as he's out there in the public and he's out there in the media. He was previously, for something that we don't need to discuss, wasn't great, but as a goal scorer and as a technician and a finisher, he is outstanding. He 100% deserves to be on the list because he's always been consistently good.
Next up is Bonucci, but I'm going to take Bonucci and Chiellini together. You can't talk about one and not talk about the other.
I'm going to be completely honest. This is a very tough one because I have to separate their past to their present, and I'm going to do that. They've fallen short, and they're aging, which age isn't an excuse for them falling short. Juventus just were not up to scratch last season, and they were the back pair. They were the force, But you flip the coin and look how good they were for Italy. You know what I mean? So I have to take that into consideration as well. They were, the rock at the back. They were the usual dynamic duo that they were in international football, which isn't easy. So in the 12 months they've had good and bad. Did they make the 30-man list? I think they just about make it. They did lead Italy, partially. They led Italy to the European Championship and they were vital at the back line. Chiellini, Bonucci were roaring and dictating and like they do, no nonsense. So I will give them that bit of credit. And I think if they didn't do well with Italy, they wouldn't be in the list for me. But they did salvage a bit of them in getting, the Euros. So
yeah, they were pivotal for Italy.
No doubt. I think that salvages that.
Let's move on to Man City. So we've Kevin De Bruyne, Ruben Diaz, Phil Foden, Riyad Mahrez, and Raheem Sterling.
There's some players I don't think who should be in there. Raheem Sterling, I thought, had a very poor 12 months, my opinion. Thought he shined for England.
In the Euros.
Was it enough? I don't think so.
So he's very similar to what you're thinking is on Bonucci and Chiellini. Had a poor season with his team.
Had a good Euros, but did it really do anything for England? Did it take them anywhere?
I suppose the argument with Sterling and with the City boys as well is they did win the league.
Yeah, but I don't think Sterling contributed that much to it. Ruben Diaz, 100% player of the season for me last season in the Premier League. Absolute stone wall rock. Came into the Premier League and to do that and to take, the back line and the best team in the league by the scruff and control the back line and, shut everybody out, marshal everybody. Got the best out of John Stones as well. I thought he was very good for him, very good dance partner for him when he came in, and he kind of brought up his game as well, which is, if he can do that for another player. Kevin De Bruyne goes without saying, doesn't it? What a player, what a talent. Pivotal for the league title as well, goals, assists, with injuries as well, still doesn't deteriorate his numbers. Phil Foden, for me, young player of the season. Absolutely outstanding. What an absolute...
But had a poor Euros.
Had a poor Euros, but I do think...
had a poor game and then was out of the team, really.
I do think over the 12-month period, he was sensational for City with Sterling. And that's the reason I've separated him from the Italy lads, is because they actually went the whole way and were vital in the performances and in the results. You know, Sterling did chip in with goals, but is that enough? You know, I don't think so. I would leave Sterling out of the Man City lads. Who would you have in and out of the City lads really quick yourself?
Well, Diaz is definitely in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
De Bruyne is an unbelievable footballer, but again, towards the end of the season, he got that injury.
Yeah,
then he drifted out. He was kind of a bit bark player.
Didn't have a great Euros either.
Didn't have a great Euros, but again, didn't really feature in the beginning, you know. And you could argue they were probably pushing him through the Euros. He was probably still unfit.
Yeah, they were forcing him into it. Yeah.
But an exceptional player without a shadow of a doubt. Mahrez.
Sorry, Mahrez. I forgot about him.
Mahrez, I'm not too sure about. I mean,
I've a lot of time for him, but wasn't involved enough for me. No disrespect to him.
And with Sterling, I think you're right. There was a drop off last season, and at times there was even a question about whether he'd be in the Euros.
Yeah, there was. We had that conversation.
That was questionable as well. But he was in there, and he was exceptional in the Euros. And you have to accept, in winning a league, it's a team effort, and he was part of the team. Albeit, did he contribute at the level we would expect for Raheem Sterling? You know, we knew there was issues there as well with Pep. There was talk he might be going to Real, but then all the stuff with Real and Barcelona and all unfolded, which kind of probably shut that down a little bit. It's no secret at the moment he wants away, and there's no secret that Man City are happy to let him away. So he could switch for the Northern black and white without a shadow, potentially, you know. But yeah, I suppose, you know, you win the league. He had a good Euros. I suppose it's hard to put him off the list, isn't it? When you look at other players that are on the list that haven't achieved that level.
Yeah, so I get that as well. I do get that.
Yeah. So next up, Cristiano Ronaldo, who, as you said, was top goal scorer, but
he makes the 30-man list for me, and I'll leave it at that. For me, that's just my opinion. With the, you know, he still was top scorer in Serie A, which I do get to commend him for. I give him credit for. You know,
Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Milan were coming back into their stride. Got his move to PSG, but I thought he was very solid for Italy. I thought, you know, whenever you go back line, midfield, forward, you still have to have a great keeper behind you. And I thought he led very well from the back. You know, you have two very, very big personalities in front of you. If you fuck up behind them, you know what I mean? You're in for a pacing. I think he's very confident. He's very good. He's a long way to go. He's playing since a very young age. I would say for a goalkeeper as well, it's good to see him on the 30-man list. And I think if we're talking about goalkeepers making the list, should he be on it? I would say yes, he should be on it.
Okay. Bruno Fernandes.
Only because Ruben Diaz had such a good season. Bruno would have been my player of the season. United were god awful, and he pulled them through so many games. And I don't care if anyone, United fans can agree or disagree. That's the truth. They were absolutely non-existent, and he somehow found a way to drag them through many games on his own.
But I suppose on the flip side of that, by his levels of performance, had a
very poor
Euros.
Very poor. I'd agree with that.
And again, fell short in the Europa League final as well.
So,
again, probably one that makes the 30.
Makes the 30.
But probably wouldn't make, say, your final 10.
No, I give him the 30, and that would be that. Yeah.
We spoke about Phil Foden. Up next is the monster, the Nordic monster, Erling Haaland.
My God, what an absolute scary guy! This, like, he reminds me of like Lewandowski, just robotic, just goal machine. Still hasn't won anything yet, which, it's very difficult when you have Bayern Munich in your league and a lot of good European teams around. But no disrespect to him, the numbers he's putting out there are absolutely ridiculous. Like, should he be on the Ballon d'Or list? the 30-man list, I'd say, okay, fair enough, because his goal return has been absolutely phenomenal. He's a long way to go. He does need silverware. I'm sure he will get it with his next move. No disrespect to Dortmund. 30-man list because of his achievements with Dortmund and because of his goal returns for a young age. But I would say no more than that.
Yeah, certainly a man who's a shoe-in for a Ballon d'Or in the future.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Let's have a look at Chelsea. So we've got Jorginho, we've got N'Golo Kante, we've got Cesar Azpilicueta, I think it's that Mason Mount. I think that's all of them, isn't it? Yeah. So Mason Mount, Cesar, N'Golo Kante, and Jorginho.
I have massive respect for Cesar. Massive. You know, he's a leader. He's a role model. I think he's a role model to the youth at Chelsea as well. I don't think he should be on the list, if I'm being completely honest, because I think when he was frozen out, all due it down to Frank, he wasn't involved. But when he did come back in, we did see the old Cesar that we were used to now, the leader, you know, the conductor. But it wasn't over a 12-month period. Like, you know, it wasn't over a full... Yeah. I know they did win the Champions League, and I know he was vital in winning that. But is the Champions League alone coming back into a campaign enough? Could the same be said about Mason Mount? I think Mason had a phenomenal season like Foden. I think he flourished under when Tuchel came in. I think he was doing well under Frank because Frank knew him at Derby. And as I said, I have a lot of time for Cesar Azpilicueta. I think he's one of the best defenders that we've had in the league. But is it enough?
I suppose if you look at the four straight away, obviously Jorginho and N'Golo Kante stick out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, yeah.
In terms of their achievements, in terms of the performance, and this is no disrespect to Mason Mount, who's a phenomenal player, and Cesar, who's an absolute phenomenal player.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking at the Ballon d'Or, I think you're looking at, if you were looking at those four and two drop off and two go through to the next stage,
it's no question.
It has to be Jorginho and N'Golo Kante,
isn't
it? And then when you're looking at both of them and you're trying to figure out which way it goes, you've got N'Golo Kante, who's just a phenomenal player, phenomenal human being, but again fell short in the Euros, but was exceptional in the Premier League, was amazing in the Champions League, was amazing in the run in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
you know, and an absolute baller. So the question is, I suppose, does Jorginho outweigh N'Golo Kante insofar as Italy went on and won the Euros, and he won the Champions League, and he got to an FA Cup final, and they got a top four in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think slightly Jorginho just pushes ahead of him slightly, doesn't he?
I'd agree.
N'Golo Kante is
so take nothing away from Kante. Take nothing away from him.
Absolutely not. It's absolutely that fine, really. And it's a difference. And to be honest with you, I'd be having the flip conversation if France had progressed better in the Euros.
Yeah, and there would be, it's literally, you know, that little bit. That's all it is. It's a fine, as you said, it's a fine, you know what I mean?
Next up is Harry Kane.
Hasn't won anything. 4 Euros. Goal return in the Premier League, which we expect from him, which is probably why I'm guessing he's on the 30-man list. What can be said more about him than that, in my opinion, with the players that we have around him? How do you feel about him?
It's a real conundrum, isn't it? Because what happens with Harry Kane is he's a world-class footballer. There's no doubt about it. He's a phenomenal striker. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
But because he's where he is and because he's surrounded by what he's surrounded by, and we know this big move in the summer was trying to orchestrate it. We know he wants to win silverware. We know that potentially won't happen at Spurs.
Yeah.
And the problem for Harry Kane is he'll always be a world-class player in a mediocre side. And that doesn't lend itself to an award at this level.
You can't do it.
Because if you look and you go down through this list, if you look at this 30-man list, does Harry Kane even make your top 20 out of it, or does he fall into that bottom 10? I would argue he falls into that bottom 10.
Having a look in the corner there, he definitely swings towards the bottom 10, in my opinion. Definitely.
So that's where I would.
When you add everything up, when you add the full, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Next up is Simon Kjaer.
Look, we had a little chat about this one earlier. I have to be very careful here because I want to say it the right way. What we witnessed at the Euros, we should never, unfortunately, have to witness on live television watching the football game. I don't think he should be in the running for the Ballon d'Or, but I commend him massively for his inclusion. I commend him massively for his behaviour and how he looked after Christian Eriksen's family, how he looked after the players, how he looked after the situation. That was absolutely god awful. And please God, we never have to see anything like it again. I don't want him to be in there for the sake of being in there, like a charity kind of vote, because no disrespect to Simon Kerr, the Ballon d'Or, it's not about that. You know what I mean? I fully commend him for what he done and how he handled the situation. Massive respect for him. I always will. I'm sure you had massive respect when you seen him in the Milan game, and I'm sure the crowd and the Liverpool faithful obviously gave him a massive, But do you understand what I mean? In my opinion,
you're judging an award here on a certain set of criteria.
That's all.
And the criteria is not about you being an exceptional human being,
which he is.
Yeah,
I'm not taking that away from him. He's an absolute world class human.
So I get it. I fully get where you're coming from. But I commend him for his inclusion.
Massively.
But being included, it's like if you're in the 25-man squad for an international team, but you never kick a ball.
Exactly.
Let's move on. Robert Lewandowski
has to be one of the favourites, regardless of what the bookies think. The man, what more does this man need to do to be recognised in world football? His numbers are absolutely frightening. I think before last weekend, before the international break, he didn't score. Before that, it was 6 months the last time he didn't score. 6 months. Albeit people can make this, in my opinion, I don't buy into it. Oh, he's playing the Bundesliga and all. No, that doesn't matter. He's playing in the Euro competitions as well. He plays for Bayern Munich and he scores and destroys everybody in his path. He reminds me, Haaland reminds me of what he could be, that kind of way. As in, he's that kind of model. And Robert Lewandowski, absolute goal merchant, phenomenal, physical, strong, finishing. I think he has everything, and I think he backs it up with the titles. Unfortunately for him, his country is Poland. They're not very well put together in the Euros, but he 100% has to be in the question, and for a long time, not only for this season, for a long time.
I think sometimes when the question of the Bundesliga gets raised, and we've seen it before. I mean, we know Timo has come into Chelsea. He's had a difficult transition, but Tuchel's working through that, and no doubt he'll be absolutely phenomenal in time. And we've seen Sancho come in from Dortmund as well to United, and is needing a bit of time to settle as well, and no doubt will be phenomenal. But it can at times ask you to question the Bundesliga, because as we know in the Bundesliga, there's maybe 2 to 3 teams in it, and the rest very like the French league. The rest are kind of like passengers, if you like.
I would give I would give him the benefit. I think he's just world class. I do think he will handle himself. I really do.
But with him, it's a different conversation, because we've seen what he can do in the Champions League as well against the top tier in Europe. So it's not like his career is isolated to the Bundesliga.
No.
His career is across the whole of Europe. And this is a man who has destroyed the echelons of European football from time to time as well. So we know the quality of this man. We know if he was in the Premier League, he would be absolutely exceptional as well. And the pressure on him there at Bayern Munich is obviously massive as well, because their expectation is to go out every season and win everything. That's
the least.
And they have. They have under him. So no doubt he's in the conversation, and without a shadow of doubt, I felt very sorry for him because of the cancellation because of COVID last time.
Yeah,
and he was nailed on for that one.
He was, and it was finally what he deserved. He finally got the merit that he was recognized. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Next up, let's talk about your boys who are at Inter Milan. We're at Inter Milan.
Oh God!
Big Romelu Lukaku.
No, look at him
and Lautaro.
Him and Lautaro. Last season it was an absolute joy to see Lukaku linking up with someone like Lautaro because he was the perfect partner for him. But Lukaku also turned in assists as well, matched up assists and goals, and so did Lautaro. They had an unbelievable partnership. They spurred into Milan on to win the league. And Conte, I think, was the role model behind Lukaku getting the best out of him. You know, now he's under Tuchel. I think Tuchel will do the exact same for Romelu Lukaku, put the arm around him, make him feel wanted. Lautaro Martinez, there's a player in there. He's going to come to Europe, I think, more Eastern. I think he's going to come to the Premier League or La Liga, or I think he's going to do very, very well. Reminds me a bit of like a Tevez, like a Alexis Sanchez, like a Aguero, South American kind of flair, but a lot of aggression in there as well. Great finisher. Look at the two boys. Fully commend them for winning the league with Inter, which hadn't been done for a long time. If you're coming over Juventus, you're doing well, you know what I mean? But neither of them did finish top scorer. And neither of them, like Lautaro won the Copa thing with, you know, fair enough, he was in the squad. Lukaku, did he have a great time with Belgium? Not the best time with Belgium, you know what I mean? I'll give the two of them the 30-man list because they did spur into Milan on to win a title, which has to be recognised, but I wouldn't go any further than that with either of them.
Okay. Next up, Mbappe.
What a player. My God. It's frightening how good he is, isn't it? Like, for his age. And again, I know the question can be brought up about the league he's in and stuff, but there's a player again who goes into European games and not a bother on him. You know what I mean? The opposition he plays. For the French team, I think he has a good understanding with Benzema. I think he's a good little bit of understanding there. I still think there's levels for him to go. I think it's a bridge too far too soon for Kylian Mbappe. I think it's good that he got it. I think it's fair he's into 30, but for me, I don't think it's quite the time just now.
Yeah, you see, I'd have a slightly different opinion. I know he's an absolute world-class player. There's no doubt about that. And what a prospect. And no doubt he's another one who will pick up one of these.
He'll be up there. He'll be in there. He will be up there. Yeah.
But I would look at his 12 months and I would say they lost the league.
Yeah, to Lille.
Which is unforgivable for PSG to lose that league with the players they have available to them, the wealth they have available to them, the coaching they have available to them, and everything else. They lost the league. Okay. Then he went into the Euros and by his standards had a horrific Euros.
Yeah.
It was terrible in the Euros. So the question is, yes, I suppose when you look at some of the body of work and stuff like that, you have to include him in the list. Is he dropping into my top 5?
No.
Not a chance.
No, he wouldn't. No, and I fully agree with what you just said. Like, you know.
And I just think, but again, you can't ignore him because he's such a phenomenal talent. You know, he's one of the most talked about players in world football. You know, pushing for a big move. He wants out of PSG because doesn't want to be in the shadow of Neymar and Messi, who have gone there now.
Which is the right thing to do for his career. Completely the right thing.
Yeah, well, some people would say it's the right thing for him to do. Other people would say that he should stay and he should be the standout guy and he shouldn't be in the shadow of these guys.
I would love him to be like, you know, a Liverpool or a Real. I think he could really flourish, you know.
Well, we could be looking, as we said already. I mean, we mentioned before the show, this could be the shopping list for Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe Mbappe 2022 might be trending, but
black and white.
It might not be for Liverpool. It might be for the black and white of Newcastle. Let's see.
Jesus.
Imagine. Messi. I mean, we don't need to really say much about Messi, do we? Because I mean, they're taking into account your career and stuff like that. So has to be in the conversation. But if you say that that's 25% of what's being looked at,
he doesn't make my top 5, not even close. Doesn't make anywhere near.
Even winning a Copa de America?
No, not enough.
Still don't have him in there.
Because if we want to take everything like everyone else does about all of the career, has he really, really, really brought Argentina what they wanted? You know, they thought he was going to be, you know, the savior. You know, I think how serious were them other teams when Argentina just won that there?
That's always the conversation, isn't it? When you get into the Messi Ronaldo conversation, it doesn't necessarily boil down to club football. It boils down to international football and the fact that, you know, Ronaldo has moved around leagues somewhat and Messi had never did until this season. So that's always the dynamic between that conversation. So I get where you're coming from in terms of an international. But I suppose if you look at the body of the career and the fact that this lad has a shelf load of these, history would suggest, he needs to be in the conversation. Is he in my top 5 for the last 12 months? No. So this is going to be interesting when we try and dissect this down to who we're picking, because I'm still not sold yet. I want to listen to your arguments. Luka Modric.
Very underappreciated player. I'm talking about over time. Thought he was one of the best midfielders we've seen in the game, hands down. The 12-month period, I think time is sadly starting to take its toll on him, and it was a depleted Real Madrid as well, which I don't know if him and Cruz at the time and the age that they're at now can really do much about. I think he's a fantastic player. I really, really like him, but in the last 12 months, has he been in the conversation? Not really.
Well, the way I look at Luka Modric on this list is, I think back to what Chelsea did them in the 2 games in the Champions League.
Yes.
Where he was made look very ordinary.
Like
by 2 men that are on this list.
We let Real
list.
Madrid kind of play their game, but Chelsea basically tore them. They couldn't get near them. Like Cruz and Modric, I include Cruz in that conversation as well, because he's such a good player. But they were passengers in them 2-legged games. No disrespect to Modric, but they were absolute. They couldn't get close to Mount. They couldn't get close to Jorginho. They ran an absolute muck against him. Should he be on the list? No, in my opinion. And I go for that in the 30-man list over the last 12 months. I wouldn't have him on mine personally.
That's good. Good call. A man that you need no introduction to, Gerard Moreno. I mean, this is where your smile goes from ear to ear.
I spoke, a long time about Villarreal. I actually tipped them to win the Europa League, and they somehow came out on top. But they did. Look at Gerard Moreno, right? What a talent. Hard working, physical. He's a grafter for the team, but he's also a really, really good goal threat. And what really disappoints me for him is how well he did. He won the Europa League with Villarreal, and then he didn't get fucking started in the Euros for Alvaro Morata. And I think that is an absolute joke. And I will have him on my 30-man list, not because his name is there, but because I know the player that he is. I know the 12 months that he's had. And I'm not going to judge him on his Euros because he didn't even get a start. He came on, we need a goal, let's throw Gerard Moreno on. That's not his fault. That's poor management. Alvaro Morata up front over this fella who's at the scene out United out of the competition, took Arsenal out of the competition, had a great La Liga campaign, had a great Euro campaign, goal scorer, works hard for the team, and he doesn't even get a start. It's beyond me. He 100% makes my 30-man list for his 12 months. And I really hope that if he does move on from Villarreal, it's a bit late now in his career, but he's a very, very good professional and a very good player. And for his 12 months, 100% makes my 30-man. 100%.
No problem. We spoke about Mason Mount, of course, already in the Chelsea side of things.
Neymar frustrates the life out of me. And that doesn't go for the last 12 months, just in general. There's a player in there, but it's when that player wants to be used or come out or not. It's up to him. And it's going to come a point in time in his life that he's getting on a bit, and he's going to have to make that decision. There's always in the conversation, as well, Niall, that he could be the Ballon d'Or, that he could be this player. But does he want it? Does he want it that much? I don't know. I really don't get it with him. He confuses. He's such a talent. He's such a phenomenal player. But does he care? I really don't know how bad he wants it. You know what I mean?
He must frustrate the hell out of a coach.
Yeah, massively. I don't even know if he makes the 30-man over his 12 months either.
I think you'd probably have to have him in the 30.
You think so?
But I'd say it's the disappointment of when you get to the business end of things.
Yeah.
It can be that player that goes missing.
Yeah.
When you need him the most. You know what I mean? It's like it's just so frustrating. And I think at times you've seen it even with PSG this season. They brought in Messi and stuff like that. And to have a front line of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, and to be struggling, to be relying on goals from midfield,
and Herrera,
and to be struggling. I can't understand it.
It's the most, like, as you said, like Poch must be saying, what am I doing wrong here? Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Let's move on. A boy that we're both massive fans of, Pedri.
Oh, I love him. I absolutely love him. Being a Barcelona fan, he's the glimmer of light in the darkness, to be completely honest. And there's another lad who's going to be on this list, I'd say, within a couple of years, called Gavi, who's very impressive the other night. Looked like he was 27 years of age, you know, mixing it with Verratti. You know, Verratti actually spoke after, and Gavi said that, you know, he looks up to Verratti as a role model and how he conducts himself in midfield. But Pedri, my God, he didn't get a break from football. He played a full campaign with Barca, went to the Euros, played, and then he went to the Olympics and played for Spain. He's phenomenal. I think he's a bit of Xavi and Iniesta blended together. If I was to kind of, you know, what a player he could be, I think he's a bit of both. I think he's the passing, he has the vision, he has the range, but he also has the dribbling and the agility of like Iniesta. He has the technique. He can finish a ball. His stamina and fitness levels already for a young age are phenomenal. Like, to play a full La Liga career, then to go to the Euros, then to go to the Olympics. Enrique has massive trust in him, and I think and hope that he stays at Barcelona for a long time. Does he make the 30-man list? I think he just about nips into the 30-man only because he's been phenomenal for his age on his breakout season. I think it'd be doing him a disfavor that he wasn't on it, and he does deserve some recognition for the season that he's had.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the star player for Spain at the Euros.
He was outstanding.
And the fact that you think of a Spanish team that has all this talent available to it, and they were relying on this young lad to be that spark.
It was him or nothing if he was showing up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I think definitely his place is definitely on the list.
Yeah.
And again, another player that will definitely be in a top three, if not picking up a Ballon d'Or in the future. Assuming Barcelona sort out their problems.
Oh, God.
Next up is a man we both love to bits, an absolute stellar human being, a red man through and through, Mohamed Salah.
100% deserved. And we'll take the Liverpool out of both of us, and we'll talk about, you know, just Mo Salah, the player. Bar N'Golo Kante, I don't think there's another human being on the planet who gives as much as Mo does back, you know, to the community, to his home country. How he presents himself on the pitch, off the pitch. He's adored by fans of every club. I'm sure even Man United, you know what I mean? Everton, no matter who you support, you love Mo Salah. Let's just be real about it. His goals last season basically nearly saved us in getting top four. We had a very, very off season last season for many reasons, but Mo kept going, and his numbers were just kept us in the conversation this season. My God, it'll run out of words and, you know, ways to describe the man. Really, like the goal against City, the numbers he's putting up again, and he's the best player on the planet at the moment for me. In the last 12 months, he 100% deserves his place on the list. But yeah, with a shadow of a doubt, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke about Raheem as part of the City review. We're rounding it out with a man that we both love as well, the next Liverpool player who landed La Liga last year.
Oh, God.
Luis Suarez.
I just cannot believe the negativity of Barcelona to let something like this happen, to let him go to your rivals, and the player that this man is. There's no one, Niall, I don't know if you agree with this or not. You know, like you say, Haaland is similar to Lewandowski. I can't compare Luis Suarez with anyone else on the planet because he's just so unique. I can't compare him. You know, the way he moves the ball, his cleverness is, you know, the way his goal scoring threat is completely different to anybody else. You know, he just assumes where the ball is, like a little fox in the box. His numbers last season were absolutely outstanding, and he came back to haunt Barcelona. Kills me to say it, but I commend him for it because he showed what they lost. You know what I mean? He's an absolute outstanding talent.
It's an interesting dilemma for us now on this list, isn't it? Because we have a number of players in there that performed amazing last season and broke the stranglehold of a number of big teams. So you have Inter breaking the stranglehold in Serie A. You had Atletico breaking the stranglehold in La Liga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these guys have to come into the conversation. Like, you have to include Luis Suarez in the conversation because of his
100%.
record last season.
100%.
And pushing Atletico to that title. And then you talk about Barcelona and how they let him go. Like, I believe he was let go over the phone, apparently.
Ronald Koeman made a phone call to him and said they wouldn't be needing his services anymore, supposedly, and that was that. Didn't meet him even face to face, or didn't have him at the training ground or anything. He just let him know over the phone.
Having said that, based on Luis Suarez's history, I don't know whether he'd be the guy you'd want to be giving bad news to face.
No, keep your distance.
You know what I mean? So I suppose when you go in and you look then at the career side of this trophy, it's a little bit of a dilemma, really, isn't it? When we know about the history of what has gone on in the past and stuff like that, and now we look at the player who's an exceptional player. So it's a difficult one. So let's take a moment.
Oh God!
I'm going to take a moment and we'll take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dissect down our top 5, and then we're going to try and deliver a winner. And we're back to continue our Ballon d'Or episode where we're going to get into picking our top 5, and then we're going to declare our winners. And just so you viewers know, me and Craig have not discussed yet our top 5, and we haven't discussed yet our winner either, so we don't know each other's picks. So Craig, I'm going to give the floor to you. So give me your top 5.
Or in no particular order. It's Mohamed Salah, Robert Lewandowski, Jorginho, N'Golo Kante, and I have Ruben Diaz.
Good list. So this is where me and you are very similar in this, where we kind of took into account career a little bit.
Yeah, a slight bit.
But we weighted heavy towards the last 12 months, which is
what should be done.
So I'll give you my 5 now. I went with Ruben Diaz. I went with Jorginho. I went with Kante. I went with Lewandowski, and I went with big Romelu Lukaku.
I respect that last one, and I think that's a fair. I think it's a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you said, if you're looking at the career, he had a torturous time at United.
It was out of shape, overweight, couldn't touch the ball for life or matter, like, you know what I mean?
And then he went to Inter Milan and physically changed his whole shape, body, footballing, everything. Became an absolute phenom in Serie A and was pivotal in breaking Juventus' stranglehold and pushing Inter Milan to the title.
My reasoning for my 5th pick and picking Mo is we were looking like we mightn't even finish top 6 last season. Let's be realistic, but he was the shining light for us in the last 12 months. His goals gave us the opportunity to get the points on the board and just see us through. Albeit with moments from like Alisson and how Phillips and Williams came in, not taking out and away from them, but Mo's goals in such a bad season, even for himself, his own standard, and then to continue that on and become the player that he is now. And his numbers, remember, people were saying he was a one-season wonder, but for me, I think there's even more levels to Mohamed Salah that we could see.
Well, I say to people, if a season is 5 years, then he's a one-season wonder. But yeah, I can see the point there in terms of, like, I mean, at times last season he was sailing the ship on his own. What Liverpool had to endure, and I wouldn't deny his place necessarily, but I wonder is his achievement last year in terms of pushing Liverpool to a 3rd spot when they looked dead and buried in the league. Does that outweigh the body of work that Lukaku had to put together when he exited United, and where he had come from in United and where he had finished up at Inter Milan? Probably saying, and everyone knows I'm a Liverpool fan, I would probably say that's probably a greater achievement.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Than Salah last year. So that's the only argument. But again, it's horses for courses. No one needs to question my love for Mo Salah. I love Mo Salah without a shadow.
Like having Rom at Inter Milan, and finally delivering a Scudetto. Like for me, it was always where we would finish behind Juventus, to be completely honest. But I think.
And remember, at a time when no one expected Inter Milan to deliver
No,
a
neither did I. No.
Juventus have brought in Ramsey, Rabiot, Ronaldo. They brought in all these players. Inter Milan really had no card in that game at all in reality until the league unfolded. If you remember, how many times did we speak about AC Milan and Inter Milan last season and Juventus with their struggles and stuff like that? And we have to mention Conte in that conversation as well, without a shadow of a doubt.
Outstanding.
You know?
And Lukaku also turned provider, which is something he added to his game, you know, with Latoro. People just think of him maybe as a big centre forward, but he's a lot more than that, like a lot more.
Yeah, and absolutely. And we can see he's gone to Chelsea now, nearly 100 million.
And
you can see, even in the first 7 games of the season, they're top of the league. He's worth every penny.
Yeah.
The man is exceptional. Right. let's get into the meat and gravy of this episode. God. You're gonna have to pick a winner now.
I have my winner. I had my winner before the list was announced. Because for me, I just look at the time that this person has had in football, and I think he's been really, really hard done by. He's been nearly forced out of England at times. He's gotten a lot of stick, but the transformation this player has made, and it does include a 12-month period, has been nothing short of absolutely flawless. And my Ballon d'Or winner is Jorginho. I think he's been absolutely revelational. You remember, and a lot of people don't realise this, when Sarri was in charge at Napoli, because I watch obviously Serie A, he played the same role, but in Italy it's a slow pace. So he sits in front of the back four, he just sprays the ball around, whatever. Doesn't really affect the game. He just keeps it moving. But when you come into the Premier League and do it, and you get caught in the ball, you're passing left to right, and people are getting really fucking angry with each other, like, this is fucking shite, basically. We all seen it. He nearly was gone. He was a scapegoat at Chelsea. Sarri had left, and they were like, get him next. He's gone. He's finished. He's brutal. Tuchel came in. Massive credit to Tuchel and to Jorginho himself for turning it around and said, I'm going to put you in a midfield 3, not deep, just as a 3, and, you know, impose yourself on the game and play your football. What an absolute general in midfield. And it goes without saying, if to be mentioned above N'Golo Kante, you must be doing something right in your life. Not only that, he went to the Euros and he marshalled the midfield with Barella. You know what I mean? Albeit Barella, Verratti outstanding in their own right, but Jorginho led from the front. He's vocal. You can see him at Chelsea. He's brought that into his game where he's vocal. He's, you know, dictating play. He's telling the likes of Kante, Kovacic, where, or even in Italy, like Barella, Verratti, you know, where to be. He's aggressive. And I just think to go from being so little and so, you know, scapegoated and, you know, he's next. You know, why did Sarri bring him in? He's absolutely dog awful. To go to being a serial winner and a staple mate in the Chelsea side in 12 months, for me, I just think it's nothing short of phenomenal. I'm absolutely delighted for him. And for me, he's my Ballon d'Or winner. And that's just my personal opinion on the player and why I think he deserves it.
Yeah, I suppose I look down through the list of my 5 and you look at Ruben Diaz, who's been phenomenal, unbelievable player. And to be so young and yet to be so experienced in those clutch moments and stuff like that. Had a phenomenal season with City, fell short in the Champions League, obviously, to Chelsea, blew away the league in reality. After having a poor start. You know, I look at Jorginho, as you mentioned there, who has just become an outstanding player and is that dynamo for Chelsea. Excuse the pun, I know Ian's going to be listening. But he's just an outstanding player, you know, and it stands out in the Chelsea side. Sometimes I look at these awards and I think, you know, it's not easy for midfielders to stand out in terms of these awards and stuff like that. And we mentioned Kante in the same breath. And I think the only difference between both in terms of this award is Jorginho pips it because of, you know, he had a phenomenal Euros.
I'd agree with
as you said.
Yeah.
And Kante didn't.
I'd agree with that.
And then I look at Robert Lewandowski and I think here's a guy who's an absolute goal machine, hoovers up everything with Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Fell short in the Champions League, obviously, but beat Gerd Muller's record. I think it was 41 goals in a season he scored. He got I think it was the last day of the season.
It's sensational.
Sensational. A record that's been in the Bundesliga now for how long? I mean, you think of the talent that's been in there, you know. And then I look at Romelu Lukaku down the end, and we already just spoke about him, you know, got hammered out of United.
Yeah.
The fans absolutely blistered him in terms of the slagging in terms of his weight and his body shape and his touch and everything else. Went over to Italy, reformed himself in terms of his physique, in terms of his play, in terms of his hold of play, in terms of his desire for the game. Could have went to Italy, took a payday and went down the same road of not giving a shit.
Yeah.
But I don't think Antonio Conte would accept that from
a player. No chance.
But was absolutely exceptional in Serie A last year. Him and Lautaro and Milan were just different level. Broke the stranglehold of Juventus by winning the league. Went into the Euros again and probably had a disappointing Euros.
Yeah.
I had tipped Belgium to go really far in it, if not
win
it, but fell short. So similar to you, I have to give it to Jorginho.
Yeah, you feel the same?
Absolutely. I just think this guy, he's just what he has done at Chelsea, as you said, how he was out in the cold.
Yeah.
He came back in, and the player he's become under Tuchel. Now, we could sit back and we could argue that the 11 that go on the pitch have been exceptional under Tuchel. They've all
that's extremely fair
in a certain way. But I just think because he had gone on to win the Euros, because he had won the Champions League, finalist in the FA Cup, they were a shoe-in for a top 4 all season, really. But they started out, if you remember, their body of work, it's like they crammed 12 months into 6 months. Because they had a very bad 6 months under Lampard.
Yeah.
And until Tuchel came in. So I think he gets it. And I think, again, between all these guys, it's really just a flip of a coin. But I think Jorginho stands just above these guys. And I think if those World Player Awards are anything to judge by, I think he's the guy who has to get the Ballon d'Or. And I think if anyone else gets it, I wouldn't be bitter in any way. But I think it would be very disappointing. And, you know, depends again how much influence the body of career work has versus the moments. And I think if you're talking about a guy with moments, I mean, in terms of those penalties, and this guy has balls the size of a lorry when he's taking these penalties.
Yeah, the skip.
I tell you now, if I was a coach, I'd be having a heart attack when this guy is walking up to take a penalty. But I just think if you look at his body of work over the last 18 months, and the fact that he was so out in the cold, and even the Chelsea faithful at times were going, he got to go and stuff like that. And
he was the next one after Sarri who was made a scapegoat, and he was made to, like, you know.
Absolutely. And I just think the way he has turned his career around, the success that it has brought, he's pivotal to Chelsea in the way that they play. And he is the guy that does that thankless job. When everyone else is bombing forward, when you have the Hazards and the Pulisic's and the Ziyech's and the Mounts and all these guys, he's the guy that sits in there and gives them the license to do what they do.
Because when it comes the other way, he literally chases it, breaks it. And
so what I would say is indirectly, this guy makes these other guys look world class in what they're allowed to do and in terms of his work rate.
Exact same for Italy. He gave Chiesa the freedom. He gave Immobile the freedom. Spinazzola was coming from before his injury, wing forward. And Barella, Jorginho just sat in. And what I like about Jorginho, what I touched on, is how animated he's gotten, how vocal he's gotten, you know. As in, it's his midfield. It's basically, you know, I'll tell them. I'm the general, you know, I'm dictating it.
Absolutely. And for that reason, as I said already, he's my pick for the Ballon d'Or. So we've both kind of agreed, and our top fives are exactly similar in no particular order. And then I suppose it's a flip of a coin. As I said to you, my top 5, I would weigh towards Lukaku in terms of what he achieved. No disrespect to Mo Salah. He's the best player in the world at the moment. I love Mo Salah. I'm a Liverpool fan. But you can't argue with what you write on the page.
No.
So yeah, that's it. So we'll have to wait now till the 29th. And on the 29th, then what we'll do is we'll come on and we'll do our review of the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
no doubt Ian will be on that show. And if it isn't Jorginho or Kante, there'll be war. And I think,
definitely like to hear what other people, in the comments, the top 5 or who is their Ballon d'Or and what's the reason for their Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Or is there someone that we're missing completely? Is there someone that isn't on the list that they feel should be in recognition? We'd love to know.
Yeah, let us know who you would have put on the list, who you would take off the list. Let us know if you want your top 5 and let us know who you think is going to win. Do you agree with our thinking on it? How do you feel about the fact that career is heavily weighted on this as well, as opposed to just the award in that year for the 12 months? And let us know your thoughts. So, Craig, a pleasure as always. We went down a little bit of a lane there in terms of our talking about players and stuff like that. A little bit of disagreement in our top 5, but not much.
Oh, well and good. It's both valid reasons, both valid reasons.
But we both arrived at the same answer in the end in a slightly different way.
Yeah. Fully deserved, please God, if he does get it.
Well, listen, a pleasure having you on as always.
Cheers.
Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for the videos. Let us know your comments, share, subscribe, like, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. Hit us up on Twitter at _upper_tier if you want to let us know about the episode. You'll also find it there on Facebook and on Instagram, the upper tier. Until next time, Craig.
Cheers, Niall.